Welcome to Bigfoot Adventures. Have you ever had a Bigfoot sighting? If you have and you don't want to let anybody know that it was you that saw him, or you're afraid to tell your story because you're afraid of you being made fun of, I'd be glad to tell your story for you. All you have to do is email me your story at bigfootadventures411@gmail.com. Let me know what you want me to say, what you don't want me to say, and I can put your story out there so other people can hear about it without you being identified. This is Bigfoot Story Report number 24266. This happened on November of 2006 near Land O'Lakes, Florida. This gentleman said, "My son and his friend ran out of the woods next to our house, out of breath and very scared. They said they saw something big. So I asked them what color it was, and my son said brown. So I assumed it was a deer or a wild pig because there are many of those around our house. I told them to just be careful, and I brushed it off. About a month or so later, there was a show on TV about Bigfoot. My son asked me, he said, 'Are there Bigfoots in Florida, Dad?' I told him, no, they stay up north. I didn't want to scare him out of the woods, so I didn't tell him about any of the skunk ape sightings that we have here in Florida. About 6 months later, my neighbor called me, and I had him on speakerphone, and I was with my son, and we were waiting outside of his school for it to open. He asked me, he said, have you or your family had any strange sightings in the woods or anything strange going on? And my son was sitting right next to me, he said, and he heard this and he interrupted and he said, I saw it. And my neighbor asked me to ask him these questions. And, you know, the innocence of a child, you can just see that, you know, a child doesn't lie on stuff like this. And you could just see his innocence in his answers. But the neighbor asked him, he said, what was his height? He said, very tall, taller than my parents. The neighbor said, well, what color was it? He said it was a reddish brown. The neighbor said, was there a bad smell? The boy said, yes, it was awful, awful smell. The neighbor said, was his ears pointy or rounded? And the little boy said, I didn't see any ears, just hair and a pointed head. The father then said to his son, after they got off the phone, he said, son, how come you didn't tell me that you saw a Bigfoot in the woods that day? And he said, and why didn't you tell me it was walking on two legs when I talked to you that day? You just told me it was something big. He said, why didn't you tell me it was a Bigfoot? He said, Dad, I didn't know that there was anything such as a Bigfoot. So this little boy had the innocence about him not to even know anything at all about a Bigfoot, and he saw something in the woods with his friend. I think that's pretty incredible. I hope you're enjoying these stories, and until next time, I'll see you then.